And hello, sports fans of the Rio Grande Valley. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the South Texas Border Sports Podcast. I am the host, Ray Silva. Folks, don't forget we can now enjoy our episodes through Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and of course the usual platforms via Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple iTunes. And once again, folks, we are working to bring in some new guests every week, but this week I have a returning guest for this episode to talk about a little bit of the NBA trade deadline, a little bit of the RGV Vipers. I'd like to welcome back Rashad Miller. Shad Miller, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for taking time out of the busy schedule.
Oh man, for you, Ray, I'm always gonna make some time for you, man.
Yeah,
You know
definitely.
that. Yeah,
No,
I already know I'm in Northern California. I did the back to back for the Dallas Weekly with the Mavs and the Kings. So yeah, I got plenty to talk about. It's a very interesting story, and I got to meet somebody that we're gonna talk about in a minute.
interesting. So, man, let's get right to it, man. The trade deadline was one of the more busier trade deadlines I've seen in recent history. But man, what do you make of the Mavericks dropping the first domino first?
This is the first time that during the trade deadline I was actually happy for the team. Usually, if they name someone of that caliber, they are past their prime. I won't go into any names because we'll have to run into these people. But yeah, if you hear me, you know who you are. But Kyrie Irving coming to the Mavericks, it took over the city. It was crazy. The thing is with me, I didn't believe it until this one thing. When I got the press release, I was like, okay, this actually happened. I didn't believe it until then. I was like, he might back out. He might go somewhere else. So yeah, I left it at that. But when I finally got that press release and I read it off, and I said, wait, what? This is for real. Like I would, cause like we've talked about this before. I
Yeah,
differentiated myself from a fan and professional, so I was just like, you know, I didn't even want to write about it. Didn't even want to talk about it. I said until I hear a permanent, until I see some ink to paper or some press conference where he's with Jason Kidd or somebody from the organization, I don't believe it. But when I read that press release and I made my graphic and I put the details of the press release in, I said, "Wow, Kyrie Irving, one of the best point guards in the league, still is coming to my backyard
you know
with
when I
Markeith Morris."
when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, Mavericks, I see you guys pushing in all your chips. I mean, everything. You push in all your chips. You're going all in. I guess they still have a little bit of business to take care of, thanks to last season that kind of left like a sour taste in the mouth in a lot of Maverick fans. And I kind of hope that this was like the one move that the organization needed to make. That hey, we're not gonna leave our star hanging here. We're gonna
Oh
try to
yeah,
get him some help.
yeah. This is definitely a. You, I mean, I don't know if you heard about the mural that was here for a minute. The Send Help Luca mural that was in Deep Ellum for a minute in Dallas. They worked it out to where it's going to be a better mural. Hopefully, it's a mural of Kyrie and Luca together now. But yeah, so far, the duo were together last night, and it was a little miscommunication. But like Kyrie and Luca said, it's going to take time. That's one, and two. Kyrie pretty much said that they didn't even really talk before the game. And I know for a fact that Kyrie doesn't shoot around. Well, as of right now, he doesn't shoot around. He lifts weights and does, his routine before the game. So, yeah, they haven't been out there on the court together to kind of work on things, but, that's what practice is for.
Yeah, that's going to be quite an interesting setting, the practice setting. And we've touched upon briefly touched upon this before. And my favorite response that I've you have ever given me, it's like they don't really use that system anymore. If you know, you know.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. They don't do that anymore. We used to do that. That's what we used to do. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
Definitely not now.
yeah.
Definitely.
Now you just go out, find guys, give them 10 days.
Yeah. Like Chris Silva
No,
right now.
yeah, yeah. You couldn't go in your own backyard, pick someone out, give them 10 days.
Yeah. It was some guy, man. The Dirk era was a Russian roulette of who was coming through that door. When I remember when Troy Murphy was on the Mavericks, I said, "Yeah, now it's becoming too much. It's ridiculous." Like people remember, like I gave my barber Eddie Curry's game worn jersey. He said, "How did you get this?" I said, "Don't worry about it," and he has it in his house. So if Eddie Curry is looking for you, if you look for your home jersey, my barber has it, man. If you want it back, man, I had to ask him.
Don't worry. It's at least been a decade since I last stepped a foot in the city of Dallas. And mind you, this was like my senior high school trip, by the way.
Mm.
That's how far it's been. So I'm a 2005 high school graduate. So it's been a little while since I've last been to Dallas. Hope to go up there sometime very soon. Hopefully,
We love to have you.
believe me, I'd like to go up there. I don't know, sometime during the summer. I hope. But anyhow, but our next
No,
top.
oh, you know, Texas summers.
Oh,
Here in
they're
the city,
brutal.
here
They're
in the city, it's
brutal.
not. It's not any better in Dallas.
It's brutal. Believe me, I live here
It's
in deep
worse
South
and
Texas. I live in
it's
deep
worse
South
there
Texas.
because you thinking you have buildings to escape. No, everything's hot. You can't touch anything. It's that, but bigger. That's all it is for
As I'm being
sure.
joined by the Uncool Urban writer, Mav, Dallas Mavs Weekly writer as well, Rashad Miller. Now we can turn the page a little bit about the Kyrie Irving trade and how everything went down. For you, just how much more work do the Mavericks have ahead of them? Just trying to continue to push up the playoff ladder now. Because last season, Western Conference Finals,
Western Conference Finals.
I mean, it was a surprise to a lot of people because a lot of people
Luca.
expected a lot of people expected Phoenix Suns to roll the Mavericks, and they were all in for a little surprise. So
But
now, what is the ceiling now for this team now?
it's still the same, but this time for us to make it to the NBA Finals. With Kyrie and Luca, once they get the communication thing together, I think that's where we're heading. A lot of people are probably like, no, no, no. But let me explain. If anyone knows how to win, it's Kyrie Irving. He even said it in his post game pressers that that's what he does. He wins. Like take all the other stuff aside. The man's a winner. He likes to win. It may not always be perfect, but that's what he likes to do. And Luca, we know for a fact, up until this point, that's all he knew was winning. So you have two competitive guys in that backcourt. The only thing is that they have to share the ball. They're not used to that. Because I think what happened last night was Luca didn't realize, hey, I don't have to pass it to XYZ. I have another guy of my caliber right there. He even admitted, like, man, I should have passed to Kyrie on that instead of taking that shot. He's still getting used to it's not just me anymore. But another thing that but hey, I'm not going to say names. But when Reggie Bullock had about 30 plus minutes, that was still questionable to me as well. I looked at when I got the scorecard, I said, there's no way he was out there for that long, but he was. He was out there for a very long time, and he only had about, I think, 8 to 10 points.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now,
So we're not talking about who put him out there for that long. But no, if you don't see no productivity, you should have taken him out.
yeah.
100%.
Now we can now turn the page over real quick with the RGV Vipers now. That's a team that just finished getting third place in that FIBA Intercontinental Cup. A very early game today, or very early Sunday game here in the Rio Grande Valley. Just how do you see the Vipers now with all the things that they've got going on? Now they're starting to find a groove at the right time. Despite that last loss in league play to Salt Lake City, and picking up their first W in that Intercontinental Cup tournament. Just how do you see the Vipers now? Just trying to mesh up and try to finish the season strong and get in within those playoff spots now.
Now, I love Coach Kev. I love what he's doing with the guys. I'm a big fan of most coaches that played because they can speak to the guys differently than guys who may have just learned systems, like they just got into coaching. So I like where he's taking the team. But, you can't expect the first year for him to do what was done last year. And you have a different group of guys as well. TQ isn't here anymore, so we don't have the MVP. But we do have some pretty solid guys. I'm not saying a lot of these people because, these are people that I'm cool with, but you have like my guy Josh Reeves on the team and other great players like that who have skill sets that can achieve something. They can at least make the playoffs, but it's gonna take time for Coach Kev to really get his put his fingerprint on this team.
Yeah, and I feel like he's putting his fingerprints quite well. I think the one guy that's been coming around the corner despite his very long layoff is Ray Spalding. He's
Yes.
gonna be the high energy guy off the bench, or if he's not starting alongside Willie Cauley Stein. I just feel like Spalding's gonna be that one big burst of energy for a big guy, a guy who can play the outside, play the two, can shoot like a two, play like a four, even a five at times. I just feel like he's gonna be that one essential piece that the Vipers are gonna have to get going, despite whatever's left of this regular season, and not use him as a cornerstone, but kind of have him there as a piece uh, to kind of get him going and try to get a lot of the bigs going down low in the paint.
But this is the thing that I have loved about the organization. I don't know if it's just the organization overall, but the energy has not changed.
Yeah.
How they play has not changed. That's the reason I say he has his hands on the pulse, but the fingerprints they're getting there. But it's a great transition from how they played in the years past with Coach Mahmoud and how they're playing now, because it's like it hasn't changed. It's a constant.
Yeah.
Like when you go against these guys, you're going to have to guard the perimeter, and you're going to definitely have to get in that paint. Because if somebody gets in that paint, look out.
Yeah. And I just feel that lookout guy at times can be Cassius Stanley as well, because he's known to be a little bit
Yeah.
of a high flyer too.
Yeah. So again, watch your head.
Yeah.
Watch your head.
Yeah,
Because
just
I remember seeing them here, and it was like I said, I almost forgot that it was Coach Kev's team now. All that running up and down the court. I said, oh yeah, my moves in Houston now. I said,
yeah.
oh, okay. That's just how they. I said, that's just That's just Vipers basketball.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's just a brand and an identity that this organization has built over the last 15 years now, 15, 16 years now.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's gonna take time, but there's gonna be another trophy, and I hope to be there again for the finals.
Definitely. Well,
Can't
Rashad,
wait.
I appreciate you taking time out of the busy schedule. Where can people find your work at on social media? I know you're big on Instagram doing the Uncool Urban and a lot of the stuff for the Mavericks that you do.
At the Uncool Urban on all social media, and DallasWeekly.com. Even though they barely promote it, but I do have an article coming out tomorrow morning. That's what I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
I actually got to talk to Kyrie Irving one-on-one, and we just talked about his relationship with Jason Kidd, Nico Harrison, and like the guards that he emulates his game after, and how he's grown as a person. Like I'm gonna tell you right now. Of course, there's a lot of things that have happened in the past, a lot of controversial things, but all in all, he has learned from his mistakes, and he's a student of life. He's just trying to keep growing. So, I'm not sitting there caping for him, but no, after sitting there and talking to him, his mind is in a better mindset in Dallas than probably it was in Brooklyn or anywhere else for that matter.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that'll do it for this episode of the South Texas Border Sports Podcast. Don't forget you can find all extra interviews on my YouTube channel. Just search for South Texas Border Sports. You can find some pregame pics that I post up through my Instagram page on South Texas Border Sports and also on Twitter. Just search for Pro Sports RGV and you'll find me there. And Rashad, thanks so much for taking time out of the busy schedule. Appreciate you.
Oh, no problem.
Hello, sports fans. Thanks for listening to another episode of the South Texas Border Sports Podcast. This is your host, Ray Silva. Be tuned next week for another great episode as we drop podcasts every Monday here on anchor.fm/STBS. Don't forget, our podcast can also be found via Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, and Spotify. Thanks for listening.